Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Robinson is back, reeling off the massive success of this new rally that happened over the weekend in the UK. My good friend Rafi Pinsky from the Soothing Semantic podcast had a chance to interview him in London. I'm so excited for this clip. Some really profound stuff from this conversation between the two of them. They're both goats. They're awesome. They're great. So I want you guys to head right now to the Soothing Semantics YouTube page. Soothing Semantics on YouTube. Go subscribe. I'm Tall the Traveling Clat, your favorite Zionist prince. This is the YouTube channel. Link will be in the description. Let's watch this clip between Tommy and Rafi.
Yeah, in 24 months, we've changed the culture. Yeah. This is a cultural revolution is happening right now in Great Britain, where the people who are scared are not scared anymore. And we've made it acceptable through our first event on the 1st of June, and we brought singing, we brought celebration. It wasn't we're here against Islam, because that's not what it's been about. We're here for Britain. We're here for free speech.
But there is that undertone, if we're being honest.
Well, everyone knows what I stand for. But what I mean is...
you know what? It has to be addressed. Meaning,
yeah.
That undertone is understood, and as much as that's not the focus of the rally,
yep,
that has to be clear. I think there shouldn't be too much of a running away from that. I know you're not doing that.
Now, two separate things. My journalism, which is to wake people up on those issues, and then the day that people can come out and celebrate. Now, if you can come out and celebrate, and the two work hand in hand, because telling people to come out for free speech, yeah, people will come, and they feel acceptable to come, and they're not going to lose their job for coming. Yeah, it's not an anti-this, it's not an anti-that.
It's a pro
identity, pro who we are. Let
me ask you something, Tommy. You know, multiculturalism is a common thing across the West.
Yep.
It's this that you mentioned, globalism. You've also mentioned in previous podcasts that Asian communities, the Sikh community, they are wonderful people. They're peaceful. They love being English citizens. How can a country in the West be, to some degree, a multicultural state or country, but not allow people who don't have its best interest at heart to overrun it?
Islamic immigration. If there was no Islamic immigration into Great Britain, if there was none, say there was none, we wouldn't be sat here talking.
Right.
In fact, there would be no debate, because Jews come to this country in small numbers, yeah, assimilated, integrated, work hard. Sikhs come to this country, work hard, assimilated. Hindus come to this country. Now, everyone come to this country and embrace this nation and love this nation. But the Islamic community, not all of them, a section of them come here. They're not here to integrate. They're here to dominate. They, rather than declare love, they declare war. And a lot of this you understand when you start going to Islamic teachings, yeah, which people need to.
Let's break it. Let's break down. Let's give no bullshit. I know balls on the table. What is the issue with Islam based on your book right here?
Everything I saw in my life growing up, yeah, I didn't understand with the Islamic community and the Pakistani. I didn't know where it come from. And I sat down this week with Lubna, who's a Muslim girl from Luton, from my hometown. She's 2 years below me at school, went to a different school. And I sat down to interview her. It's blowing up, the podcast. I sat down to talk to her about what her upbringing was and what it looked like for her. So the issue I just told you about my school, I asked her about her school. And she said, well, everyone was integrated apart from the Muslims. I said, so your community just weren't friends with anyone? She said, no, it was everyone else and it was us, same as me. And then she said that her son, who's in junior school, which means he's under 11, come home from school, in the school in Luton, and said, Mum, all the Muslims, because he's a Muslim, are telling me I'm not allowed to talk to the non-Muslims because they're going to burn in hellfire, and they're worse than us. So that there explains what's going on in the Islamic community for why there's a Muslim playground, non-Muslim playground. Then she said that when she went to college at 16, I didn't go to the college, I was going to go to the same college. When she went there at 16, she went to the religious lesson class, and the Muslim bloke stood up and said, we're at war, Muslims, non-Muslims. So her experiences were the same as mine. But I didn't understand where this come from, yeah? 2010, 2011, I'm doing 22 weeks on solitary confinement in a British prison. Someone sends me in the Quran, and I challenge anyone to do this. I say this all the time. Open up the Quran, and everywhere it said, do not be friends with Christians or Jews, I just made a reference of the verse. And before I knew it, I had pages. And it was like a jigsaw puzzle just fell into place. I understood it. I thought, this is it. This is why there's a Muslim playground. Mm-hmm. This is why they're not allowed to. And when you start looking at this, and what we've done here is, because when I picked up that Quran in jail, you can't read it. Because It's done by verse size. So one thing Muhammad says one day is next to something he says 20 years later.
I want to interject with that. Have you heard of God's Sod?
Yeah, brilliant, man.
So there's an element in the Quran where there's the Meccan period and the Medinic period, which you maybe, if you're not familiar, just stop me.
Abrogation.
Right. Precisely. So it's just the peaceful narrative when Muhammad's army was weak automatically disappears, becomes irrelevant once his army is powerful enough to take over whichever empire or religion he wants to. And therefore, all of the later laws go into effect.
So abrogation, which is which is within Islam, so people understand. Whatever Muhammad says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier.
Right.
So if you've got two contradictory verses, so for example, the idea with this was to take the Quran and put it in its right order. Because when Churchill and Gladstone read the Quran, it was in its right order. Now, Winston Churchill made comments that Islam has the power to take Europe back to the Dark Ages. William Gladstone held the Quran above his head and said, there'll never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book. These men understood Islam, yeah? And then, now, you can't understand it. So we took it from what Islamic scholars say and his Islamic historians, and we put it in the right order, according to them, yeah? And that's what we've done with this book. So then we put any verses of hate or violence in bold writing. So the idea was that you can pick this book up and you'll understand it in 10 minutes. The reason being, say for example, you'll read through and you'll read a verse and you'll get to a peaceful verse. Say like this, 76:29. This is an admonishment, and those who will may choose a way until the Lord, yeah? And then that has a little line for it. Yeah, a little cancellation line, and it's cancelled by verse 9:5. So this has put it together and said, well, there's a peaceful verse, but this contradicts it, and Muhammad said it later in his life, so it has a little line for it. And then you go to the back to see what 9:5 is, and we've done this for the whole book, and obviously all the bold writing is so when you open it, it's just like, kill him. Basically. Fucking hell. It says kill him all the time. 100 verses that just talk about rape, murder, and death.
Yeah.
Against non-Muslims. So that was the purpose of putting the book together so people understood it. But for me, it was then understanding that, like, Muslims sent me the book when I was in jail to try and convert me. And as I and I challenge anyone this, I don't know how long you're here for, yeah? Take your camera, go to Luton and find any Muslim with a non-Muslim. You just won't. Now, as a society, as a country, that can't continue. Yeah, it would be all right if the Muslim community was 0.1% or 0.2%, and they had their little area, and they weren't causing problems, and they're peaceful, and they mind their own business, and they just want to be left alone. But it's not. It's now 6%. They're doubling every 10 years. You've got all the jihad, all the rapes, all the problems, all the crime, all the hostility, all the heroin, all the things that are coming out of this community, and it's growing and growing and growing. 40,000 terrorists we have 40,000 Muslims on the terror watch list. We've only got 70,000 armed forces. And that problem's just, you're going to let it double in another 10 years? And are we just going to sit here and wait until it's too late? And wait until the numbers are so big that we can't afford to deal with it? And we're too scared to deal with it? Because already now, when you think about it, the whole world talks about the problems of Islam in Britain. 6%. That's all there is. What the hell is going on? Like, look at the problems we've got. The terrorism, the jihad, the murder, the rapes. What's it going to be like when 6% becomes 26%?
Right.
Well,
honestly, the most valid questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to listen to the whole podcast on here. It's an incredibly insightful episode. Soothing Semantics by Rafi Pinsky, the great real estate agent of Miami. He's awesome. He's so good. I've been on his show 3 times now. If you want to see episodes with me, you just scroll through his channel. He's had some incredible guests on. Let's help him. Listen, you guys, I'll tell you guys a little side note here before we finish this episode. I'm going to give you my commentary. I have had the pleasure, since this YouTube channel has grown insanely wild and successfully recently, to bless other people with a mass of followers when we shout them out. The other day, you guys helped my friend John Lagarda. We took him from 100 subscribers to 1,000 subscribers in one day. In one day. When I was a little kid at 17 years old and I started this YouTube channel, if somebody would have done that for me, I would have lost my mind. It was my biggest dream to have a bigger YouTuber shout me out and help me out. Now, me and Rafi are friends, so don't do it for him because he's a little kid. But please go show love and support to this guy for platforming Tommy, for making an incredible podcast, for flying out there. And by the way, Rafi invited me and wanted me to come to interview Tommy as well. I just happened to get very, very sick, like right before this happened. So luckily I didn't go out, but he invited me. I was supposed to be there. So let's go support Rafi. Let's see, can we get him to 10,000 subscribers? Can you guys help out and make this guy hit 10K? That would be incredible. I would love to have that kind of impact on Rafi's channel because he's an incredible guy. So please go, and we have another episode from Rafi we're going to react to. But this is exactly the point that I have been talking about. And Tommy says it so eloquently. Well, I don't agree with Tommy on everything about the Quran. I never will. You know, I've read the Quran twice now, and just like he mentions, there's verses that cancel other verses out. A lot of it is up until interpretation. Jihadism and Islamism, especially the one that's festered here in the Levant and other parts of the Middle East, has become cancerous. But when you look at Bektashi Islam in places like Albania, you look at Sufi Islam in Turkey, Nigeria, India, Iran, these are Islams that have reformed themselves. Even Alawite Islam and other branches of Shi'ism, they have reformed themselves to a point where they are livable and a non-danger to the people who live amongst them. For the most part, not always, but for the most part. How do I know? I've lived and traveled amongst these people. And I know firsthand, especially a lot of the Islam that exists in Southeast Asia and places like Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia. It's livable. You can coexist with it. It won't oppress you because it is not the Islamism that has festered in places like the UK, specifically in Luton. So while I agree with Tommy, there needs to be a very decisive action against these people who are colonizing your countries, and they're doing it, and they're making fun of you as they do it, and they're announcing that they're doing it, and you guys are turning a blind eye to it. I don't believe that I at least cannot wholesale write off the Quran. I think that the book should exist. I think that it can exist for certain groups of Muslims, but exactly what Tommy and Rafi were talking about in this episode of this Islamism, this ideology, the way that it has interpreted the book in the most cancerous of ways, and now tries to literally colonize the UK, take over the UK, using this book, using this holy book, is terrible, and we need to stand against it. We need to push for Muslims to reform their religion. It's not bad for you to reform your religion. There are millions upon millions of Muslims who have already done so. It is the job of all of us now to inspire the Muslim world to reform this corrupt and perverted version of Islam that exists in the UK. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, Clats.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.